Hello students, welcome back. So we were talking about the molar conductivity for strong and weak electrolytes, and we have seen that molar conductivity for strong electrolytes can be calculated with the help of that graph by applying Debye-Huckel-Sager equation. Fine. But for the weak electrolytes, it cannot be calculated by extrapolating. As you have seen, it is parallel to the curve is parallel to the y-axis, is not linear also. Fine. So for that, weak electrolytes, molar conductivity can be calculated with the help of Kohlrausch law. So Kohlrausch was a scientist who has studied about the different nature of the different ions, cations as well as anions. So whatever he has studied, so let's study his experiment first. What he has done, he has calculated the values of, what he has done, calculated the values of molar conductivity at infinite dilution for different electrolytes. Okay, and what he has found the value is the difference in the value of two different electrolyte is found to be same irrespective of the nature of the other ion. So let's see what is the meaning of this. So I am writing the values whatever he has studied, that electrolyte, okay, then its value at 298 Kelvin. Okay, then we'll see the difference between the two values. Fine. So he has taken NaCl, KCl. Fine. Value is 149.86. For KCl it is 126.45. And the difference is coming out to be 23.41. This is a difference. Now you just see what is common here. This is different, cation is different, but anion is common. So see, it means their values are different at infinite dilution, but the difference is coming out to be same. It means their movement towards contribution of the particular ion towards the electrode is independent of its co-ion. Okay, what is co-ion? The ion with which it is associated. So here chloride is same. So that's why due to this only the difference is coming out to be same. If we see the another combination, let's say KBr and KCl, here cation is same, the values are 151.92 and for KCl it is 149.86. The difference is coming out to be 2.06. Fine. Now let's see the another combinations. In that also difference is coming out to be same. If I take NABr, NaCl, the difference is 2.03 only. Values are 128.51 and this is 126.45. Again, cation is same but anion is different. Again the value is coming out to be same. In case of KCl also, KBr also, value is coming out to be same. It means it doesn't depend upon its co-ion, it doesn't depend upon the sodium. That's why the difference is coming out to be same. So what he has concluded from here, let's see what was the conclusion. Now from here, we can, with the different values, you just see in your NCERT one particular table is given. From like this data and then from the data of KCl and KBr, we can easily subtract this and we will get the value of this chloride ion and bromide ion, that is at individual molar conductivity. So what he has concluded, what was his generalization? So Colrush law. He has put forward the law in the form of its generalization, that is Colrush law in 1876. And what was the conclusion? Let's see the conclusion first. His conclusion was, this conclusion he has made on the basis of the above observation, that each ion makes a definite contribution to the, each ion makes a definite contribution to the total molar conductivity of the electrolyte. Each ion makes a definite contribution to the total molar conductivity of an electrolyte at infinite dilution, irrespective of its co-ion. Okay, irrespective of its co-ion, or you can say the co-ion means other ion which is associated, or the other ion of the electrolyte. Okay, and the individual molar conductivities of the ions of the electrolyte is known as ionic molar conductivity. It's like that partial pressure, that total pressure, then individual pressure of the gas is known as partial pressure. So here individual molar conductivity of the ion is known as ionic molar conductivity, that is of that particular ion, which is represented by small lambda, like this. Okay, so here it's not wavelength, I already told you that small and capital symbols are there. Okay, so what was the conclusion? Each ion makes a definite contribution to the total molar conductivity of the electrolyte at infinite dilution, irrespective of its co-ion or the other ion of the electrolyte. That we have seen from that difference, it's coming out to be same, when we can easily calculate the molar conductivity, that is the molar conductivity of the individual ion, which is known as ionic molar conductivity. Now let's see its statement. What is the statement of Colrush law? So Colrush law, it states that it states that, this is very very important, direct it will come in the exam. It states that the molar conductivity of an electrolyte is, it states that the molar conductivity of an electrolyte at infinite dilution, very very important, infinite dilution is equal to the sum of the ionic molar conductivities of the cation and anion present, each multiplied with the number of ions, each multiplied with the number of ions present in one formula unit of the electrolyte. So what is the meaning of this? That molar conductivity of an electrolyte in total at infinite dilution is equal to the sum of the ionic molar conductivities of the cation and anion. That is the individual molar conductivities present, each multiplied with the number of the ions present in one formula unit of the electrolyte, so that it can be balanced. So what's the meaning of this? Mathematically it is equal to what? Mathematically, see, this is the molar conductivity. In general, we'll say, let's example of electrolyte AB, or we'll take AX. AX By is the electrolyte. So let's write for this AX By at infinite dilution is equal to the sum of molar conductivity of this A. That is molar conductivity of A. X is the number of ion involved, Y plus Y, individual molar conductivity of B at infinite dilution, X minus. So this is the mathematical form. Now let's see for different electrolytes. So this you have to remember in general. Molar conductivity of the electrolyte AX By is equal to the sum of the molar conductivities of the cation and anion A and B present, each multiplied with the number of the ions. This is the number of ion involved. Okay, in one formula, this is one formula unit, so number of ions are X and Y are the number of ions involved in the one formula unit of the electrolyte. So let's see the meaning of this. Okay, let's see the meaning of this. That this is the molar conductivity for electrolyte. Okay, this is the molar conductivity of for cation, and this is for anion, and X and Y are the number of ions involved. In one formula unit of electrolyte. Okay. Now let's see the different electrolytes. If we want to write the expression for Colrush law for different electrolytes, let's write for NaCl at infinite dilution. So it is Na positive plus Cl minus. In this way you have to write. If say write for sodium sulfate, how we will write? That molar conductivity for Na2SO4 is equal to what? Sodium positive Na2. So 2 will come here plus SO4 2 minus, like this. Or you can find. Okay, like this you have to write. Similarly, you can write for any other electrolyte as well. Okay, so let's see now. So this is about the Colrush law. So these are the stoichiometric or the number of ions involved. Here for sodium it is 2, it is 1. Fine, this we know from the formula making. Now let's see its applications. Applications of Colrush law. Applications of Colrush law. First is calculation of molar conductivity at infinite dilution for weak electrolytes. Second, calculation of degree of dissociation Third is calculation of dissociation constant. Calculation of dissociation constant. Fourth is calculation of solubility product. Okay, so we'll see one by one. Fine, I hope I'm clear till Colrush law. Okay. So this is all about Colrush law. So applications we'll see in the next class. Fine. So till then, thank you.